Welcome to Prime Business with me, Maame Esi Thompson. Tonight, government reaches deal with Ghana Insurers Association to fully sign up to the domestic debt exchange program.
Government can win the confidence of investors is to place something substantial on the table, ensuring that at least, the investor who is shocked, to receive that 0% interest rate will no more receive that 0% interest rate.
Also, economist Professor Lord Mensah urges government to spell out offers for individual bondholders to restore investor confidence. Ghana received $696 million from oil receipts in second half of 2022. We also have commodities. Government has reached a deal with the Ghana Insurers Association to fully sign up to the domestic debt exchange program. Joy Business's George Rafi has been following up on the issue and joins us with more. George, thank you for joining us. What's the details of this agreement?
Well, if you go through the statement that was just issued jointly by the Ministry of Finance, that is representing government of Ghana, and the Ghana Insurance Association, what we understand is that they have agreed to fully sign up to this domestic debt exchange program.
This is good news for government.
Well, this is good news in terms of getting those critical stakeholders that matters in terms of this whole idea in trying to bring down as debts towards some sustainable levels. So,
what are the details of this agreement really?
Well, if you go through that statement that was issued, you get the understanding that in terms of the terms that have been proposed by the Ministry of Finance and has been accepted by the insurers, it's similar to what government earlier offered to
the
banks. So you have a situation where in 2023, government is actually going to pay about 5% in terms of the bonds that they are holding for 2023. Now move on to other years, that is the 12 new bonds that will be issued. We're looking at an average coupon rate of about 9%. And also the fact that they are comfortable with respect to a stabilization fund that will be put up or put forward by the regulators to support any insurance company that might have problems in meeting their capital requirement, meeting claims payment and all those things, so that they can access this fund. If you go through the statement again, one critical thing that you get is that there is some assurance in terms of the protection of jobs and saving other insurance industries as well that may be going through some problems. So this is in summary, those critical points that they have appended their signature in terms of that memorandum of understanding when it comes to them fully signing up to the domestic exchange program.
Well, George, this comes as a good news for government and also a good news for the individual bondholders as well, because they are saying that they should be exempted. And with these critical stakeholders coming on board, does it look like it's going to give them the leeway to get off the exchange program?
It is interesting because don't forget that when government took the pensioners, as in the unionized workers pension program, some money has been lost significantly.
Yeah.
And there needs to be some backup. So that is why government argued that, listen, then we need to put these individual bondholders on board to make up for the shortfall. Government is looking at some 137 billion Ghana cedis being waived off for next year. Some have argued that government really doesn't need these individual bondholders to give up their interest payment for the paper to be successful. So there's a strong case that can be made with respect to having these other critical players signing up to this program, and whether it might leave the room for individual bondholders to be excused from this program. Earlier today, we saw some messages going around the WhatsApp. It appears that for those who are negotiating for the individual bondholders to be fully exempted, I doubt whether that request will be granted. So you had something like instruct your banks not to sign up to the program. So it is still early days yet. We have tomorrow, we have Saturday. What has happened over the previous weeks was
we shouldn't forget that the deadline too is on Tuesday.
And that deadline was set by the government of Ghana, the Ministry of Finance, and not the IMF or any external party.
Interesting. Do you think they're going to extend the deadline?
Well, if I want to go by the finance minister's word, when he had an interview with us, he said that it's a no-no, they are working towards that. I know that government is also trying to reach a deal with the pensioners as well and the capital market operators. And they got that final round yesterday. So maybe the only sticking point right now might be the individual bondholders. And maybe somebody has to make some sacrifices. Could it be the government of Ghana? Well, we don't know. Could it be the individual bondholders who have taken an entrenched position that exempt, and exempt?
Well, we live to see, like you've already stated. Thank you very much, George Rafi. He's editor with Joy News. Meanwhile, economist Professor Lord Mensah is urging government to spell out offers for individual bondholders under the domestic debt exchange program to restore investor confidence.
Investor confidence has already been shot. I mean, you could see the demand for treasury bills swelling. Most people don't want to see anything beyond 1 year. So effectively, the confidence has been shot. So the only way government can win the confidence of investors is to place something substantial on the table, ensuring that at least, the investor who is shocked, to receive that 0% interest rate will no more receive that 0% interest rate. And as a result of that, something that will be closer to their, expectations. And that should, bring the entire agreement into a convergent point.
Government has been asked to engage the IMF on the timeline for reducing its public debt to GDP from 105% to 55% by 2028. According to senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfred Bopping, the timeline for the fiscal adjustment is short, hence government should be proactive. Speaking at a public forum on Ghana's debt exchange program, he indicated that government should at least push for a 2-year extension.
According to Professor Bopping, Ghana's economic challenges is largely due to poor governance. He reiterated the need for governments to cut expenditure to save the economy.
If you look at where we are, the primary surplus we need to record in the next 5 years or so, the cutoff point the IMF has proposed, 2028, seems unrealistic. So our appeal is to the IMF to extend. Okay, so if you extend it from 2028 to, let's say, 2030, it gives us a little bit of room to make some adjustment and lessen the burden, okay, across the triangles. But if you make the deadline very tight, something that maybe if you have to take, let's say, 10 years to do, it gives you time to do it gradually. You are saying do it in 5 years. Then it means that the level of adjustment will have to be steep.
Speaking on the outcome of the Monetary Policy Committee meeting, he described a move to decrease the monetary policy rates as risky for the economy.
Well, look at where inflation ended 2022, 54.1%. The important question will be, has inflation peaked or it hasn't peaked? If it is a considered view of the Monetary Policy Committee that inflation hasn't peaked, then there is the scope for rate increase. But if it's their considered view that inflation has peaked and probably we are entering a process of disinflation, then they would want to what? Reduce the policy rate. But where it is now, it may be a bit more risky trying to reduce the what? The policy rate than maybe keeping it or increasing it. Then also look at the drivers. We want to bring inflation from 54.1% to 18.9% over 12 months. That already tells you it signals rate increase more than rate what? reduction in order to bring inflation down.
The forum was organized by the Economic Governance Platform under the theme Ghana's Debt Exchange Program in contest. Is it a make or break for an IMF bailout, or there are viable alternatives?
Ghana bagged $696 million from oil lifting, corporate tax, and other income in the second half of 2022. The Ghana Petroleum Fund's report has disclosed about $492 million was secured from oil lifting between July and December 2022. The following report gives us more details.
All 5 liftings took place with a 66th Jubilee recording the highest amount of $119.83 million. Also, $202.5 million was received by the state as corporate tax between July 2022 and December 2022. The corporate tax were paid by Tullow Oil, Cosmos, and Petro SA. Interest income accrued from the Petroleum Holding Fund was, however, estimated at $2 million. According to the data, $191.48 million was allocated as investments. So far, $1.06 billion has been accrued as petroleum investments as of December 31, 2022. They comprise of the Ghana Stabilization Fund and the Ghana Heritage Fund. For the Ghana Stabilization Fund, the estimated amount was $143.6 million. $363.76 million has so far been withdrawn since Ghana began producing oil in 2011. The Ghana Heritage Fund is, however, made up of $918.2 million as of December 2022.
The Ghana Revenue Authority's tax assessment of multinational companies operating in the country is coming under serious scrutiny. This is after oil production and exploration company Tullow challenged over $300 million tax charge on their operations this year. George Rafi has more.
In all, 5 liftings took place with a 66.
Tullow Oil, in its January trading statement and operational update to its investors, described the assessment done by the Ghana Revenue Authority for its 2023 operations as lacking merit and is therefore pushing for an engagement with government and the Revenue Authority to review this tax charge. The oil exploration and production giant is also raising serious questions about a similar one that was done for last year, even after that assessment had been reviewed. But for some, this development can be described as interesting, coming after a similar 8 billion Ghana cedis tax charge on MTN, which the telecoms giant is also contesting. Joy Business is aware of another multinational that is disputing the tax authority's verdict on its tax obligations for its operations for last year. But the Ghana Revenue Authority is insisting that it stands by its work done on all these firms operating in the country. But is this the question of these multinationals don't want to honor their full tax obligations to the state based on their operations in the country, or the Ghana Revenue Authority is trying to find some innovative means to meet their tax revenue target for this year? Or maybe government just need more money to manage the economy in these challenging times.
Energy Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh has lashed out at developed countries for cohesively asking African countries to embark on energy transition, describing it as unfair. According to him, there's a need for developing countries to explore its natural resources and benefit from it to support economic growth. Speaking at the first University of Ghana 75th anniversary public lecture, he, however, said the developed world have failed to fulfill their promises in line with the energy transition plan.
Ghana's position, we also don't lose sight, and our position makes it imperative for us to be also the chief advocates of energy transition in Africa and beyond. We believe Ghana and that Africa should transition to cleaner forms of energy. However, we believe that we should use our God-endowed gifts to undertake this transition. Why? Simply because since the Paris Climate Conference in 2015, every promise that was made to the developing world to be able to participate in this transition has been delivered in its negative. What was promised technology has never been delivered, and what was promised of finance to make us transition has never been developed. But we don't still think that we should not participate. In fact, we should be good advocates of energy transition in Ghana and in Africa. But since we don't have the money and the technology, we should rely on what God has given us and given us in abundance to enable us transit. In the last 10 years, almost all important oil finds have been found in Africa, or gas finds have been found in Africa. Africa's oil and gas industry, it's not even more than 50 years maximum. So to be told all of a sudden, one hot afternoon, that you have to leave those assets in the ground because we are transitioning, we in Africa feel that it is a bit unfair. We contribute less than 4% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. In fact, if we add all the confirmed gas finds in Africa, confirmed resource of gas in Africa, and we decide to burn all of it, we will still not even achieve a 4% global greenhouse gas emissions.
A Deputy Minister of Finance, Dr. John Kumah, has called on the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority to prioritize the use of modern technology and information sharing as another channel in boosting revenue collection and security at the country's borders. Dr. Kumah was speaking at this year's World Customs Organization Day celebration in Accra under the theme Nurturing the Next Generation, Promoting a Culture of Knowledge Sharing and Professional Pride in Customs.
The World Customs Day is celebrated every year to recognize the hard work of officers and acknowledge their contribution towards revenue mobilization. Speaking as guest of honor, Deputy Finance Minister John Kumah underscored the importance of the division in revenue collection. He urged the officers to consider the usage of modern technology for efficient revenue collection.
I have no doubt in my mind that the adoption of this culture of knowledge sharing and use of appropriate technology will bring enormous benefits to GRA and to our country. The Ministry of Finance pays particular attention to revenue administration. I will therefore urge customs administrators to strengthen trust with stakeholders, hence further motivating and cultivating the sense of belonging at work. A positive image of an organization depends largely on its employees.
Speaking on behalf of the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Commissioner of Customs Seydou Idrisu Idisa reminded the officers of the revenue target for the year and pledged a support to all sector heads in achieving it.
Kindly allow me to congratulate the GRA staff for working to ensure that we achieve our set target for 2022. But we do not need to rest on our oars. As we begin the year 2023, let us remind ourselves that we have been given a set target to collect 105.998 billion Ghana cedis. That's almost 106 billion. Let us therefore put our shoulders onto the wheel and work hard more determined than ever to enable us achieve the 2023 revenue target. I know with our team spirit and fortitude, we'll again achieve our target for 2023.
Deputy Commissioner of Operations at the GRA, Yao Anane Asari, highlighted the importance of the theme to joy business.
So the theme this year is for us to nurture the young custom officers so that when we phase out, they would come to replace us to keep the organization perpetuating. Yes, customs is an institution that is very important to the nation as far as the collection of revenue is concerned, facilitation of trade, enforcement of restrictions and prohibitions.
Some deserving officers of the division were rewarded for their services to the state.
The Ministry of Trade is in the process of collecting data on industries that will be capable of trading under the Continental Free Trade Area for Cabinet to design a special tariff concession and package for their operations. This is part of support by the government to ensure that more Ghanaian firms benefit from the intra-African trade deal. Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry Herbert Crapper disclosed this to Joy Business. He believes that Ghana is ahead of many member countries as more firms have begun trading under the deal.
It's the time to pay attention to the investments that would ensure that AFTA thrives, that AFTA takes off fully. And that's why I mentioned in my remarks that I believe that this is happening at a very good time with investment promotion agencies on the continent to work together to see how they can streamline regulation, they can streamline their rules, they can streamline their resources, they can work more with government institutions to take the AFCFTA and the Intra-Africa Trade Agenda forward. And of course also you know that the Africa Prosperity Dialogue Series is happening here this week in Accra from Thursday, Friday and Saturday. And that is also important because then it allows the heads of state and the big business leaders on the continent, thought leaders on the continent, to move into signing a compact that provides space for logistics, for value addition, and for building regional value chains for the AFCFTA to work. So, you know, if you have your rules of origin in place, which we do, and you have significant schedule of tariff concessions given, you know that you are ready on paper to trade. What is now left is the actual practical production. And those are the things that now member states are investing time in.
On the ground, Ghana, how ready are we? I know some 3 companies have started doing something last year. How far?
Ghana is ready in terms of the institutional support, in terms of the factories and the private sector production. What we are doing, we have set up a coordination office, as you know, and we are actually providing them with assistance to ensure that they are able to trade under the AFCFTA. What we are doing is collecting data that allows the ministry to go to cabinet to design a special package for AFCFTA trade so that they are competitive. Cost of power, cost of credit, infrastructure, all of those issues, government is paying keen attention to those things. And we can be able to take advantage of the duty-free, quota-free export opportunities that is available. But we are fully ready. Customs is the competent authority to provide the certificate of origin. We have all of that. As you rightly mentioned, we have companies that have already traded. But what is more important is for more of them to have the productive capacity to trade at scale so that they can take the benefits of the AFCFTA. And as a ministry, essentially most of our time is focused on helping the private sector to be able to.
Insurance companies are being urged to rebate long-standing policyholders as an incentive to increase insurance coverage in Ghana. According to Driver-Mo, an exploratory report on motor insurance, 63% of vehicle owners feel cheated given a perceived no returns on investment. The report further revealed that 37% of drivers purchase insurance because it is mandatory and 32% do so to prevent police harassment. Project lead for Driver-Mo, Nathaniel Dramina, spoke on the sidelines of the launch of the report.
Driver-Mo is an advocacy and exploratory report on motor vehicle insurance experiences in Ghana. The report was launched to ascertain the problems burdening the vehicle insurance sector. Speaking at the launch of the report, President of Young Africans for Opportunities, Nathaniel Dramina, recommended that the insurance companies implement a rebate scheme to boost interest of vehicle owners.
We realized that from the findings that majority of Ghanaians do not purchase the insurance because of the benefit, but rather they just purchase insurance for to avoid police harassment. And even majority even said that they purchase insurance because they feel it is mandated by laws or it's compulsory. That is why they purchase insurance. So the project seeks the greater good that in insurance serving more than just compensating losses, but rather can be an incentive to improve safety and even reduce accidents. So let's have a situation where a driver who has subscribed to insurance has driven for or used the road or applied the road for almost about 20 years without accidents. You get it? And then they don't have anything from their insurance. But if you have a system where a driver who has driven for about 20 years without an accident is given a rebate on their insurance, it serves as an incentive for them to practice more good driving on the road. That is what we seek to project.
The National Insurance Commission lauded the report for revealing the gaps in the sector. To address one of the challenges of dealing with fake stickers, Senior Manager at Marketing and External Relations of the Commission, Charles Anson Dinchi, indicated that his outfit will intensify education, especially the use of the USSD code.
The fake stickers, like I rightly said, the MID is real time. If you process a motor policy on the motor insurance database, which clocked 3 years on 20th January last week, Friday, 20th January 2023 was 3 years in running. It's of much benefit. It helps you to know whether a particular vehicle is insured or not. Even if a vehicle insurance has expired and you even test it to the short code, it will not pop up. And it tells you that if you have the sticker, you could see that it has expired or it doesn't have insurance.
According to Driver More reports, SIC Insurance Company is the most trusted vehicle insurance company among drivers.
And that's it for Prime Business. I am Maame Esi Thompson. There's more news on my Joy Online /business. But sports is up next.